second session of the Gaming Advisory Commission. Today's April 3rd. Let's start with roll call.
Alexander, Zulno,
Present.
Dabberton,
Present.
Edwards, Farrell,
Here.
Flores, Miller, Rakos, Zaney,
Here.
Benez, Talon.
Here. So we have 6 present and 5 absent. For those who have not seen this commission prior to today, this is a Gaming Advisory Commission that was put together through ordinance. We have $421,686.71 to provide grants for not-for-profit organizations that are either located in the city of Hammond or provide programs and services directly for people that live in the city of Hammond. We have 11 members. I am the chairman because I'm the chief of staff by the way the ordinance was created. We have 5 mayoral appointees: Tom Dabberton from the 1st District, Andrea Edwards from the 2nd District, Lori Zolno from the 3rd District, Darlene Flores from the 5th District, and Sharon Zaney from the 6th District. And I should mention I represent the 4th District. And then we have 5 council appointees: Councilwoman Katrina Alexander, Councilwoman Janet Venez, Councilman Scott Rakos, Member Melissa Farrell, and Member Leslie Miller. For everyone at home, just a reminder that the decisions that we make today in this session are not final. We approve for now, but we will look at what funds are remaining after reviewing all the applications and may add or decrease amounts to organizations depending on the funding. And the final motion to approve the funding amounts for every organization will be done at the final session, which could be at the next meeting or there could be 2 remaining, depending how it shakes out. We do have a work session prior to this meeting to talk through details of the organization so we can make sure we move this process relatively quickly. Otherwise, we'd be here a lot longer for sure. And it's to expedite the process for all the organizations that are awaiting these funds for important programs. We did decide this year, because the amount is a little lower than last year, that for all the sports applications, we'll put them on hold for now. And then at the end of the process, we'll look at how many applications we have for sports that we feel are qualified, and then we'll be able to determine an equal amount that we think is appropriate. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with today's session. The first application we're going to look at is the Hammond Community Theater. We brought this up at the first session, but we were missing the application. However, it was turned in, so everybody has received that application now. They made a request of $5,000. The theater, I think it speaks for itself as to what services they provide to the community. They're offering theater services for citizens and residents of Hammond. And like I said, they asked for $5,000. Do we have a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would suggest we grant them the $5,000.
We have a suggestion of $5,000. We have agreement with that? Okay, with that, we will approve for $5,000 for now. Hammond Professional Firefighters Association, Local 556. They made a request of $40,000. The purpose of their funding is for equipment at their stations, and I think they have a breakdown of equipment as part of their application. Do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
considering our finances and all the applications we have, I suggest we pass on this one, because within the last few years, we've given them $120,000 to replenish their equipment, their treadmills, other workout equipment at all the stations.
Very good. So do we have, are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I believe over the last several years that this committee has been around, we gave approximately $120,000. So right now, we will pass on that application. Hammond Red Hawks Youth Football and Cheer, we will hold because it is a sports-oriented request. Haven House has made a request of $20,000. The purpose of their funding is used for lots of items that are used at the facilities where people are taking shelter. I think many people are familiar with the important services that Haven House provides, and they are located in Hammond. With that, do we have a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Last year, we awarded them $10,000, and I would suggest we do the same this year with the opportunity to revisit if there's funds left at the end.
We have a suggestion of $10,000. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, sounds like we're all in approval, so we'll put $10,000 with a revisit, so if there's additional funds at the end remaining, that maybe we can increase that amount. Health Visions Midwest, Inc. has made a request of $12,000. The primary services that they're requesting for are in very small print, and I recall we were talking about this during the meeting. So it provides much-needed relief for senior citizens, veterans, and individuals with disabilities experiencing transportation barriers. So with that, do we have a suggestion?
I would make a motion that we put this on hold for further review.
So we will put the $12,000 on hold and do additional review of their application and come back to that application in the future. HC3, Hessville Commerce and Community Creative. We have a request for $22,000. HC3 is located in the Hessville area and provides community services for a large geographic area in the east, and I suppose you could say south side of the city of Hammond. Their purpose of request for funding is for their building on Martha Street, and they're talking about kitchen cabinets, a sink, microwave, some landscaping outside, chairs, and an outdoor sign. So with that, do we have a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to suggest we give them $15,000.
We have a suggestion for $15,000. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay, we will write down 15,000 and move to the next application. Next is Hessville Little League. This is sports oriented, so we will put it on hold for right now. Hope Center of Northwest Indiana made a request of $19,000. The purpose of their funding is they are expanding their summer enrichment camp for elementary school students to help remediate and get them caught up to where they need to be academically. They will use the funds to help purchase supplies and curriculum, software for remediation activities, camp activities, and other supplies. Do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to recommend 5,000.
Recommendation of 5,000. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, we will put 5,000. Thank you. Intermission Inc. has made a request for $5,000. The purpose of their funding is for their Thrive program. It's a program designed, a 6-month program designed to help lead individuals from surviving to thriving, which is one of their visions there at Intermission. And again, the request is 5,000. Do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I recommend 5,000.
Recommendation for 5,000. Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, 5,000. Next, we have J.E. Wade Ministries. They have made a request for $10,000. The purpose of their funding is a grant for expenses related to their 8th annual Grief and Mental Health Conference that's coming up here shortly, which includes marketing, books, materials for the conference, and media costs. Do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend 5,000.
We have a recommendation for 5,000. We have a second.
Second.
All right. We will mark them down for 5,000. Lake County Fire Chiefs Association, they have a request of $5,000. The purpose of their funding is to purchase equipment for their hazmat team members. It says they need to replace 8 sets of self-contained breathing apparatus in addition to other meters and annual replacement of sensors for those meters to protect first responders and the public from toxic gases and fumes. Do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would recommend the $5,000.
Your recommendation of 5,000, are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we will mark them down for 5,000. Lakeshore Cal Ripken Babe Ruth is sports-oriented, so we will hold on that for now. Next is Meals on Wheels of Northwest Indiana. We have a request for $10,000. I believe many people are familiar with the Meals on Wheels program, where food gets delivered to folks that have issues with transportation getting to meals, hot meals in particular. With that, do we have a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we put this application on hold for further information.
Okay, we will put it on hold, and we discussed that during the work session to gather some additional details for this particular application. Mental Health America of Northwest Indiana has made a request for $40,000. I mentioned during the work session that Parents as Teachers is a group that merged with this organization, so a lot of people are familiar with that name as well. To give you an idea of what their funding is used for, it's essentially a lot of activities with families that are considered low to moderate income and need certain assistance with child development activities. And they have several different programs, so I'm certainly not addressing all of them, but just to give you a general idea. So with that, do we have a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to recommend we give them $10,000.
Recommendation of 10,000. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we will mark them for 10,000. Montessori Children's Schoolhouse, we have a request of $20,000. We're all familiar with Montessori on Holman Avenue in downtown Hammond. The request this year is the purpose of the funding, I should say, is the funds will go to assist in the upkeep and maintenance of this landmark building, which is in need of masonry work, tuck pointing, and stone and spindle work along the veranda. With that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would recommend $5,000 as we did last year.
You have a recommendation of 5,000. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
All right, we'll mark them down for 5,000. Morton High School Boys Golf is sports-oriented, so we'll put that on hold for now. Multicultural Wellness Network, we have a request for $10,000, and I'll save some time on this one. We decided in work session that we need more info on the organization, so I will go ahead and put this on hold for now while we gather additional information. Next is the New Hope Baptist Church Community College Day. We have a request for $2,000. The purpose of the funding is for care packages for the students in regards to that college day. Food is $500, public relations $250, door price is $250. Do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend 2,000.
Recommendation for $2,000. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we will mark them down for $2,000 for now. New Hope 2 Community Center, we have a request of $18,000. The purpose of their funding is the building at New Hope 2 is in need of repair. It needs tuck pointing and painting, and they want to work on the outer part of the building. I believe last year they did some improvements on the inside of the building. So with that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman? I
Yes.
would like to recommend 5,000.
Recommendation of 5,000. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
We are. We'll mark them down for 5,000. Northwest Indiana Rugby Club is sports-oriented, so we will put that on hold for now. Northwest Indiana Symphony Society has made a request of $5,000. This is part of their symphony program that I know they put on at the pavilion every year, and I know they go other places as well. It also talks about how they have 400 students and 6 schools attended last year for their concert. So with that, do we have a recommendation?
Chairman, I'll make a recommendation of $5,000.
Recommendation of 5,000. Do we have a second?
Second.
Good, all right, we will mark them down for 5,000. Optimist Club of Hammond has a request of 15,000. The primary funding request this year is to change the signage outside of their clubhouse to an electronic sign so they can talk about fundraising events at the club. And I know they try and donate money, raise money for a lot of different activities in Hammond. So with that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend 5,000.
Recommendation of 5,000. Are we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll mark down 5,000. Prom Genie, Inc. They have an amount requested of $20,000. Again, this is one I think a lot of people are familiar with now. They provide dresses for people that aren't able to, for students or that are going to prom that aren't able to afford dresses on their own. And with that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend 10,000.
Recommendation of 10,000. Do we have a second on that? All right, everybody's in agreement. We will mark down 10,000. Pulaski Park Neighborhood Association has a primary grant request of $15,000. Melissa Farrell will abstain from the vote on this as she is the CEO of the organization. Do you call yourself a CEO?
President.
President, okay. Sounds official, so we'll say CEO and president of the organization. Pulaski Park, just like HC3, it's a neighborhood organization that does a lot of great things that you probably can't list in one paragraph for a certain part of the city. So with that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'll recommend 15,000.
Recommendation of 15,000, are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we will mark them down for 15,000. Region Renegades is a sports-oriented request, so we will put that on hold for now. Rotary Club of Hammond has made a request for $5,000. The grant request is for, or the amount requested is for their RILA camp to learn about becoming strong leaders in their communities. And it sounds like they haven't had that program for a little bit due to funding, and they want to resurrect it. And they're also going to be looking for matching funding. So with that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend 3,000.
Recommendation of 3,000, are we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
We will mark them down for 3,000. St. Casimir School has a grant request of $6,000. The purpose of the request is to help with equipment that enhances safety through better communication and building and facility upgrades at their school. And they do list several different items that they've done in the past and they're looking to do to continue to make the students at their school safe and secure. So with that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend 5,000.
Recommendation of 5,000. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we will mark them down for 5,000. St. John African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, we have a grant request of $6,229. And the funding of their request will allow the church to purchase in full and install a crest heavy-duty stair lift for access to the sanctuary and the lower level of the church.
Mr.
It goes
Chairman?
into a little bit more description. Yes.
I'll make a recommendation of 5,000.
Recommendation of 5,000. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
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 We'll mark them down for 5,000. Next is School City of Hammond. We have a request of $24,999.52. And the request is for an initiative to enhance their secondary maker spaces or dedicated areas where students can engage in hands-on learning, experimentation, and creative projects. With that, do we have a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to motion that we pass on this simply because we're talking about a separate taxing body, and I believe that it could be a potential conflict.
Do we have, are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, for right now, we will pass on this application. Next is School City of Hammond Robotics, and their request is for $40,000. This is part of their robotics program, which is the primary grant fund request, where they compete against other organizations, I think throughout the country, not just locally. So I think we're all familiar with them. With that, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we, a recommendation of $30,000. This is a program that we've supported since this commission was first formed. I think it's very worthy.
Recommendation of $30,000, we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll mark down 30,000. And lastly, for today, we have a request from the School City of Hammond, Secondary Applied Skills Vocational Internships and Community Program. We have a request of $35,050, and in our work session, we are asking for more info, so we're going to ask them for some questions before we make a recommendation for this particular application. So that will conclude what we were able to cover today in our work study session and for this meeting. I'm eyeballing this, but it looks like we have about maybe 15 organizations left, and then we'll have to hit all the sports applications. That'll give us a better idea of how much funding we have left, and any other organizations where we're gathering more info. So we are certainly 2/3 of the way after our first two meetings. And so is there any other discussion before we have a motion to conclude? All right, do we have a motion to conclude?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, roll call on that motion.
Alexander, Zulno,
Yes.
Dapperton,
Yes.
Edwards, Farrell,
Yes.
Flores, Miller, Rakos, Zaney,
Yes.
Vines, Talon.
Yes, 6 approved, 5 absent. Meeting is concluded.